Cam Ward literally just finished the throwing session at Miami's Pro Day, and we are going to recap everything we saw and heard since the broadcast started and the 50 minutes of waiting we had to do until he actually took the field, and then some. Let's get into it right now. This is the Music City Audible. Welcome everyone to another episode, a bonus episode we'll call it, not an emergency, a bonus episode of the Music City Audible podcast, our second episode of the day. Justin, presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. Here, I am Justin Graver, with me as always, Justin Melo, and we are recapping Cam Ward's throwing session at the Miami Pro Day, along with all the reporting surrounding this, the interviews with his quarterback's coach, with Mario Cristobal, with the NFL Network reporters who were down there, everything that happened at Cam Ward's Pro Day. We also, Justin, have a tiny bit of Titans news that we dropped our mock draft so early this morning, we missed this news, so we'll hit that as well. How's it going?
Doing well. After the longest wait for a throwing session at a Pro Day, I think in Pro Day history, Cam Ward finally took the field, eventually threw the football, threw it pretty well, spoiler alert, and Titans had a large contingent out there, as you said. We'll get into who went there shortly, but certainly not hiding their interest, if you will, in the potential number one overall pick.
Right, and a key piece of who was there, not just the people who will be making the pick, but yes, as you said, we will get into that. First, let's talk about two new Titans. The first one is a new kicker. So Nick Folk is still a free agent. Titans have made, it seems, no moves to bring him back, and it doesn't seem like they will make any moves to bring him back because the Titans have signed veteran kicker Joey Sly, a guy who gives them a bit more leg maybe than Nick Folk. Trade-off is maybe a bit less accuracy, still good enough accuracy, but where do you fall?
Not maybe less accuracy. I mean, he's been an 80% kicker, 78, 79, 80% kicker over the last couple of years. Nick Folk's been a 95, 96% kicker over the previous 2 years. There's no doubt that they're trading off accuracy here. They are getting more leg power. You know, like he made a 63-yarder last year. The only thing he's been a veteran journeyman, like 6 or 7 teams in 6 years, essentially. So the only thing I could think of is that Bones fossil here. Maybe thinks he could fix the accuracy, fix the technique, and then marry that technique with a powerful leg. But I do think they're rolling the dice and taking a chance here. Yes, he's 13 years younger. That helps a lot when Nick Folk is about to be 40, 41. But it does seem like they got worse at the kicker spot, at least for 2025. A bit of a bold strategy. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, well, getting a tiny bit younger there as well. But the real interesting part of this is the Titans aren't going to need to kick field goals when Cam Ward is their quarterback.
Of course.
It'll be all touchdown drives. Same reason they let Ryan Stonehouse go. No punting. Of course, they went on to sign Johnny Hecker. The Titans also claimed linebacker Curtis Jacobs off waivers. He was active for 9 games with the Patriots last season. So just adding some more linebacker depth to a room that has one for sure starter and a bunch of guys competing for the job there. Maybe he's a special teams contributor. Not huge news, but this is we're a Titans podcast. We hit everything, so we're hitting it.
Yeah, Curtis Jacobs played college ball at Penn State, where I remember him very well. Only notable thing here, I would say, is he actually signed with the Chiefs as a UDFA, and Mike Borgonzi was there, obviously, when that happened. So this screams Mike Borgonzi to me. And in the role that he was in Kansas City, a lot of times, you know, when you're like number 3 in command, a lot of what you do sometimes is the UDFA stuff, right? Like you're in charge or help lead, spearhead the late round stuff. So he always get a guy he's familiar with. Now, he didn't stick in Kansas City, probably not the greatest sign. I think he had a stint in like the UFL or the XFL before resurfacing with New England. Don't have high expectations here, but Borgonzi knows him and went to get him.
All right, so let's talk about why we are recording this bonus pod, which is Cam Ward's Pro Day. A reminder, this episode and the Music City Audible in general is presented to you by Sinkers Beverages in East Nashville, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store serving the community since 1985. Head to their website or check the link in this podcast description to join the In Crowd. In Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. All right, Justin, Cam Ward, impressive Pro Day. Not that anyone has a Pro Day that isn't impressive. It's all set up, scripted. He's been practicing this routine, so we're not going to take too much away from what we saw actually on the field. There were a couple throws that made you gasp, made you go ooh and ah, I would say. A handful, maybe like 3 or 4 missed throws, some of those scramble drill ones in the back of the end zone. He missed, I think, 3 of those throws. He had 1 miss on a speed out. But other than that, it was pretty much a perfect throwing session from Cam Ward, working with his teammates down there at Miami. But some of the most interesting stuff happened before he actually took the field. And one of those was a report that came down on Monday morning from Paul Kuharsky, which is that the Titans had dinner with Cam Ward last night. That would be Sunday night. And the people that were at that dinner, I don't know who was there, but I know who was at Miami's pro day. And I assume most, if not all of these people were at the dinner with him. That would be Titans president of football operations, Chad Brinker, general manager, Mike Borgonzi, whatever title Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler have, assistant GM of head of some scouting something, former general managers themselves, head coach Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator Nick Holtz, and QB coach Bo Hardigree. We're all there at Miami to watch this session, and I assume most of those guys, maybe not the assistant GMs, the older former GMs, but most of those guys were probably at the dinner as well. The Titans have been doing this thing where they are not telling the world who they're picking, and they're keeping all their options open. And, you know, a month ago at the Combine, we all thought the Titans wanted to trade out of this pick. But without telling us what they're doing, they're signaling with the moves in free agency, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. And I mean, having a dinner that is not necessarily private information with this guy. I'm sure they'll have meetings with Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter as well, but are they going to take them out to dinner the night before their pro day? I don't know. What do you think?
Abdul Carter's pro day is in a couple days. You're going to find out, and I bet you they will take him out to dinner. We'll find out in a couple days. But I imagine Callahan, Brinker, and Borgonzi are the only three that I would kind of put wage anything that they were at the dinner, right? I don't know that they brought the QB coach and the coordinator and the assistant GMs, as you said, but they did send all of those people down to Miami. They sent Jim Wyatt down as well. Yeah. They sent, was it Zach, who covers the Cleveland Browns, said that the Titans have their TV and production crew here. I mean, that to me almost felt a little unheard of, almost a bit of a tell, if you will. That one really caught me off guard. The dinner makes sense. The contingent that they sent also makes sense to me. Dinners before pro day are not unheard of. Like they've been doing that for a long time. Every team does that, right? Someone probably took Elijah Arroyo to dinner last night. Someone took Xavier Restrepo to dinner last night. Like that's very common when you're in town for a pro day. It would have been their second date with him, as some people have put it. Remember, he wasn't at any of the All-Star games. Their first opportunity to meet him in person and really get to talk to him at length was at the NFL Combine. If you can even call that at length, right? Sorry, I should say it was their third date because the Combine would have been first. He already had his pre-draft visit to Nashville. That would have been second. And now we would have had the dinner on Sunday evening would have been third. And then, the pro day would have been their fourth really, really strong, on-field interaction with him, if you will. So the dinner makes sense. People were asking me, what do you think they talk about at that stuff? I mean, I think for the most part, you keep that natural. I don't think you're going to go through a ton of X's and O's, but you do get that's where you're going to get a great feel for personality, leadership, communication, whereas you're going to get a bit of a combo of that at a pre-draft visit, right? Like you're going to go through a lot of X's and O's, you're going to have a medical, and you're going to get a feel for that. At the dinner, you really want that to be laid back and just get a great feel for the human being. You're not going to hand them a playbook at the dinner table, right? Whereas you are going to do that probably at a pre-draft visit, for example, or at least an install stuff, go through the whiteboard and stuff. So the contingent they sent makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you what, if this is a smoke screen, it's one of the most elaborate ones I've ever seen. And I'm not saying it is, but I will say, and I'm not trying to leave myself an out here, but when Brian Callahan was talking with the NFL Network and he made comparisons to like Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, and then Mike Borgonzi was talking.
Wait, let me stop you there because I want to read. I took notes during this. I don't have the exact quote, but I want to relay what he actually said there. He told Cameron Wolfe, NFL Network reporter, that the poise and calmness that he saw from Jaden Daniels last season reminds him of what he sees in Cam Ward. And this is the most important piece of it. He also said he thinks Cam Ward could have the same type of rookie season that Jaden Daniels had. Now, let's remember, Jaden Daniels just won Rookie of the Year, took a Commanders team that was picking number 2 overall last season to the playoffs, not only in the playoffs, but won playoff games and took them to the conference championship and, got beat handily there by the Eagles, but wasn't his fault, I will say. Like, I don't know that I'm expecting Cam Ward to have the type of, and I'm the biggest Cam Ward proponent for the Titans should draft. Well, okay, last episode or 2 episodes ago, we determined Kayla Anderson is slightly bigger fan than me. But I mean, I'm not even expecting that type of rookie year from Cam Ward.
Well, this is why it crossed my mind for a brief second. Like, could this be a smokescreen? Like, what an interesting, crazy thing to say. And then Mike Borgonzi does something similar where he says, reminds me a little of Patrick Mahomes with the off schedule and off platform. I mean, remember the Frankenstein of comparisons that was it David Montgomery or something that one year where it's like he's Adrian Peterson and he's he's Bo Jackson and he's Barry Sanders. Like it wasn't those exact guys, obviously, but like that's what this was, right? He's Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, and Joe Burrow. And
wow, sounds like a video.
All fairly different.
Sounds like a video our channel put out a little while ago comparing him to Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Jordan Love there that got a little bit of ridicule from some high-level media members like Jared Stillman. Anyway, yes, Justin,
but it crossed my mind
agree.
For a second. That's all I wanted to say. I'm like, this is a smoke screen. You know what I would do? I would bring the TV and production crew, and I would compare him to everyone.
But what's the point of smoke screening this unless you're really just trying to drive a price up for a draft pick that they're already not meeting? You're asking for, supposedly from reports we've heard, they're already not getting the offers they got.
Well, you're trying to get them. You're trying to get them to meet, right? Like that would be the reason.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what it is, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but you asked the question. I think there's a clear answer to. What's the point? Well, you're trying to get them to meet an asking price they haven't yet met. Right?
By saying that you love him so that they love him more because you want what somebody else is loving.
I love him, so you got to up the ante if you're going to convince me to move off him.
Yeah, I guess, but that makes sense. But while we're on the subject of people talking about Cam Ward, there's something else I wanted to report. Cam Ward's private QB coach, Daryl Colbert Jr. of the Select QB, like quarterback coaching training academy. They work with Shedeur Sanders. You've seen all those videos of Shedeur and Cam working out together. That this is their coach, Daryl Colbert Jr. He said during an ACC network interview that happened at about 3:10 p.m. Central Time. Now, I turned this thing on at 2:50, Justin. Put on ACC network at 2:50, expecting to get so much Cam Ward coverage. Had to watch 10 minutes of Virginia Tech or somebody introducing their new basketball coach. And then I had to watch like a bunch of nonsense. I'm talking EJ Manuel and Eddie Royal discussing Xavier Restrepo and Damian Martinez before Cam Ward's even shown on my television screen. Watched this thing until about, 4:45-ish Central Time before Cam Ward finally started throwing. But I did pick up something in that I would call it waste of time, which is what Colbert Jr. said about Cam Ward, which is he wanted to throw. Cam Ward wanted to throw at the combine in Indianapolis. And he thought about it and he talked with some people, and it was determined that he would wait till his pro day to throw for the first time because he knew, being as high profile as he is, odds on favorite to be the number one pick in the draft, that people would be watching this pro day. All 32 teams sent representatives to this pro day, and that by waiting to throw, he would bring a lot more attention to his teammates and give them a chance to show off their skills to, again, 32 teams representatives that were at this pro day and televised on NFL Network with Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah and Brian Baldinger and Rhett Lewis, like talking about his teammates. And that just shows what kind of, like, Cam Ward could have probably won, quote unquote, won the combine by going out there and throwing. It would have been the story of the combine. But by waiting until Miami's pro day, it allowed his teammates to get a lot more national media attention. And that's just the kind of teammate he is. And everyone says it. Mario Cristobal went on there and talked about how great of a teammate and a leader he is. They're talking about changing a program. You want somebody that's going to come in and change your culture right away. Cam Ward's the guy to do it. We've heard that a few times, but he said it again on NFL Network today. So just everything that happened at this pro day. Look, again, the on-field stuff, we're not going to overreact to it too much. There were a couple really nice throws. I'm talking really nice throws. There was one throw he made on the move, hitting his receiver on an outbreaker to rolling to his left. And after this throw, Jim Wyatt tweeted out this video. After that throw, that was my favorite part, I think. He finished right in front of Borgonzi and Brinker, and he says something to him. You can't really tell or see what he says to them, but Borgonzi and Brinker both cracked a laugh after Cam Ward said whatever he said, which is probably like, you see that? You don't want to pass on me. I'm gonna do this for you guys next year if you draft me. And whatever it was made them laugh. But the best throw of the day was the one rolling to his left, throwing sort of off his back foot, almost like a fadeaway throw, 60 yards in the air, hitting Xavier Restrepo in stride. That was the most impressive. It was almost like the Zach Wilson throw that we've seen all these quarterbacks make at their pro days over the last few years. And that was by far the most impressive display of his arm talent. But he was zipping it all over the field. Like I said, only a handful of throws hit the ground. Most of them were perfectly on target throws. Saw him take a lot of snaps from under center and just working on his footwork with a 5-step drop and a 7-step drop, throwing like 5-yard hitch routes, which was all just about like warming up and, again, working on that footwork and showing that he can take snaps from under center, turn his back to the defense on a few reps where he mimicked play action and threw the ball. So really just showed off the ability to throw to all areas of the field, make every throw in the book, and a couple of really nice throws. And then, Justin, there was the Cam Ward special, which I am extremely frustrated by what that was. But I'll let you react to everything else I said first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important aspect of the throwing session, again, not to put a lot into it, but was the versatility, was throwing under center, as you said, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. You saw some of the off-platform, the side motion arm angles. You saw the ability to kind of roll out of the pocket and maintain accuracy and velocity down the field. I thought that was the best one. We're right near the end there, where kind of evaded the fake pressure, if you will, kind of spun out of it and rolled to his left, I believe it was. Then hit Restrepo. I think that's the one you're talking about, deep down the field. So that was probably the best throw of the day. It's the one that seems to be getting the most attention on Twitter as well. And then obviously the fun one where the other one where he says something to Borgonzi and Brinker at the end of it. You especially see Brinker kind of crack a smile at the end of that interaction. But yeah, I think the most important thing, like I said, again, the versatility, the under center, 5-step, 7-step, on schedule, off platform, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and then the Cam Ward special. I was waiting the entire throwing session for this special because Daniel Jeremiah kept talking about it. It was in the script as the Cam Ward special, the secret throw that we're not going to know what it is. It ended up being a ridiculous concept where all 5 eligible players out there touch the ball, all the receivers and the tight end that he's working with, Elijah Arroyo, Restrepo, Sambra, all the receivers that are there, touch the ball in some sort of crazy lateral fashion, and it ends with Restrepo launching it from one side of the field to the other corner of the end zone, where Cam Ward is the one who makes the catch. I guess their version of the Philly special or some. It was the last play of the workout where they just wanted everyone to touch the ball one time and throw it to Cam instead of having him be the one throwing it. An absolute waste of my time sitting here with anticipation over what the Cam Ward special throw is going to be, and it was just him catching the pass. But whatever. It was still an impressive day. Again, every pro day is impressive. There's no such thing as a non-impressive pro day. I guess they mentioned during this the Teddy Bridgewater pro day where he threw without gloves on. That was like the only pro day in history that didn't help a quarterback's stock. So yeah, that's all I got on Cam Ward's pro day. Really excited that all signs continue to point towards the Titans just being enamored with this guy, and that I do think in 1 month from today, it's March 24th, 1 month from today on April 24th, that Cam Ward will be a Titan.
Certainly looking that way, and they continue to do their due diligence. All reports, even leading up to this day, said the Titans were going to fully go through the process. Well, this almost represents the end of the Cam Ward process, if you really think about it, because you can't bring him in for a second pre-draft visit. You've already done that. You've taken him out to dinner before the pro day, and you sent your head coach, your GM, your 2 assistant executives, and your president of football ops, and your 2 offensive coaches, in addition to your head coach, obviously, to the pro day. So you've done everything you could, right? I feel comfortable saying you've essentially got all the information at your disposal on Cam Ward now. And maybe they've already made a decision before the pro day, but reports were all saying they wouldn't. But now you've got everything. The hay is in the barn, I believe, as they say. And it's time now to, seriously make a decision.
Yeah, and all those guys you just mentioned, Jim Wyatt tweeted out a video after the throwing session of Cam Ward sort of dapping up, hugging, chatting, laughing a lot with Brian Callahan, Nick Holtz, and Bo Hardigree in a little scrum there right after the throwing session was done. And Callahan looks pretty excited, I got to say, the way he's shaking Cam Ward's hand and laughing there. So great stuff. Thanks everyone for tuning in for this second bonus episode of the day. We will be back, later this week? I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet. But if you hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and you turn on channel notifications, you will know when the next video posts because you'll get an alert about it. So maybe you should do that and like this video. And like I said, drop a comment below. What'd you think of Cam Ward's pro day? Until next time, thanks also to Sinkers Beverages. Y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
a Broadway sports media production.